November 2024. Emirates takes delivery of its first Airbus A350-900. Just over 5 weeks later, on January 3, 2025, the aircraft enters commercial service from Dubai to Edinburgh. By the end of 2025, 16 of these jets are flying to 18 cities, with Montreal set to become the first America's destination in early 2026. But here's what makes no sense. Emirates built its entire identity around massive aircraft. The airline operates the world's largest A380 fleet, around 116 of them. They've committed heavily to the Boeing 777X. For decades, their strategy was brutally simple: fly the biggest jets on the biggest routes. So, why would the world's most committed big jet operator suddenly embrace a mid-sized widebody? The answer revealed something far more significant than one airline's fleet decision. Emirates just forced every major carrier to reconsider what modern long-haul aviation actually looks like. And the reason why exposes a fundamental shift that Boeing, Airbus, and airlines worldwide simply cannot ignore. To understand why Emirates' A350 order sent shockwaves through the industry, we need to examine the unique position this airline occupies in global aviation. Emirates isn't just another airline, it's one of the world's largest international carriers by virtually any measure. Passengers from every corner of the globe connect through its Dubai hub. When Emirates makes a strategic decision, the entire industry watches. And for decades, that strategy never wavered. Buy the biggest wide-bodies available, fill them with premium products. Repeat. First came the Boeing 777. It became the backbone of their long-haul network. Then came the Airbus A380, the double-decker super jumbo that Emirates ordered in quantities no other airline would dare match. By 2024, Emirates was operating around 116 A380s, more than any other carrier in history. This wasn't just operational strategy, it was brand identity. Emirates marketed itself as the airline of scale, the carrier that could offer first-class suites with closing doors, onboard showers at 40,000 feet, premium lounges that rivaled five-star hotels. Their massive aircraft generated the revenue to support such extravagance. The A380 became synonymous with the Emirates experience. They had committed to the Boeing 777X as their next-generation flagship, the aircraft that would eventually replace their aging 777 fleet and continue the legacy of operating the biggest and best. But the aviation landscape was shifting beneath them. To understand why Emirates needed an alternative, we need to examine what happened to their flagship program. The 777X faced delay after delay. Originally expected around 2020, the timeline kept moving further into the future. Design issues, certification problems, production challenges. The program slipped repeatedly. By February 2024, Emirates President Tim Clark was publicly expressing doubt about Boeing's timeline. He questioned whether deliveries would arrive by the end of 2025, suggesting they could slip into 2026. This wasn't internal speculation, this was the airline's president bracing investors and customers for scheduled risk. Then came the announcement that shocked the industry. In October 2025, Boeing confirmed 777X deliveries had been pushed to at least 2027. The delay came with a $5 billion charge for Boeing, 7 years behind the original expectations. For an airline that had built its entire strategy around having the newest, most advanced aircraft, this was catastrophic. Emirates suddenly faced a multi-year gap with no new flagship widebody deliveries. Their 777 fleet was aging, their A380s, while magnificent, were approaching 15 years of service. The airline that had always led the industry in fleet modernity was now watching competitors take delivery of new aircraft while they waited. They needed solutions, and they needed them now. Reuters reported in March 2025 that Emirates planned to spend approximately $5 billion refitting 220 aircraft. $5 billion, not on new jets, but on keeping old ones competitive, sustaining and expanding their network amid delivery delays. The retrofit announcement revealed how constrained Emirates had become. Their near-term capacity strategy was now dictated by manufacturer timelines, not their own ambitions. They were dependent on fleet mix management in a way they'd never been before. Emirates didn't choose the A350 because they wanted to, they chose it because Boeing left them no alternative. Then, everything changed. To understand why Emirates chose the A350-900 specifically, we need to examine a critical distinction that most observers missed. Emirates' solution wasn't to simply order any available widebody. While they had long operated the A380, the Boeing 777 family had dominated their other long-haul missions for decades. The A350 represented something new, a mid-sized Airbus widebody entering an operation historically defined by the largest available aircraft. But they didn't order the A350-1000, the larger variant that would have been the obvious choice for 777 class missions. They ordered 65 A350-900s, the smaller version. Emirates president Tim Clark has been publicly critical of the Rolls-Royce Trent XWB-97 engines that power the larger A350-1000. At the Dubai Air Show in November 2025, Emirates explicitly ruled out ordering that variant. Clark stated Emirates won't buy the A350-1000 until the Trent XWB-97 engines are proven. But here's where it gets interesting. In the same breath, Clark praised the A350-900 and hinted at future orders for that variant. The smaller aircraft uses the Trent XWB-84 engine, a different power plant with different operational characteristics. The distinction matters enormously. The A350-1000 sits closer to 777-300ER class missions. That's the very market segment Emirates has historically dominated with Boeing equipment. By selecting only the A350-900, Emirates isn't replacing their 777 strategy, they're complementing it. This is the second piece of the puzzle. Emirates didn't just need any aircraft, they needed one that would fit into their existing operation without cannibalizing their Boeing relationship. To understand why the A350-900 fits Emirates' network perfectly, we need to examine what the A380 cannot do. The A380 remains an extraordinary aircraft. For high-density trunk routes where slot constraints and overwhelming demand justify massive capacity, nothing else compares. But aviation demand doesn't always cooperate with fleet planning. Routes fluctuate seasonally. Markets that can fill an A380 in December might struggle to fill half the seats in February. Corporate travel patterns shift, economic conditions change, pandemic aftershocks continue to ripple through international markets. The A350 gives Emirates something they've never had at this scale, the ability to right-size capacity for variable demand while still offering their newest cabin products. They can increase frequency on routes where multiple departures capture more connecting traffic than a single massive departure. They can serve thinner markets that couldn't justify A380 economics but still deserve premium products. They can respond to demand fluctuations without flying half-empty super jumbos. The A350-900 fills a specific capacity gap. It sits between their smaller widebodies and the massive A380. This creates a layered network strategy that no other airline has replicated at this scale. Consider what Emirates can now do operationally. High-density trunk routes where slot constraints favor maximum seats per departure? Deploy the A380. Long-haul routes requiring their newest cabin products with flexible capacity? The A350. Core long-haul scale with proven reliability? The 777 family, with 777X intended to extend that role whenever Boeing finally delivers. The A350 doesn't compete with Emirates' existing fleet, it completes it. To understand why Emirates treated this as a product launch rather than a quiet fleet addition, we need to examine their cabin strategy. What makes this decision so strategically significant is how Emirates positioned the A350 within their operation. This wasn't a reluctant stopgap measure. This wasn't an airline quietly adding capacity while waiting for their preferred aircraft. Emirates treated the A350 introduction like a major product launch. They created a dedicated A350 newsroom on their website. They issued repeated destination announcements. They marketed the aircraft as carrying their latest cabin products. The message was unmistakable. The A350 was a strategic pillar, not a temporary patch. The cabin configuration tells the story. Emirates equipped their A350s with 312 seats across 3 classes, 32 business class seats in a 1-2-1 configuration, 21 premium economy seats in a 2-3-2 layout, 259 economy seats. The premium economy inclusion is strategically significant. While Emirates first introduced premium economy on the A380 in early 2021, the A350 extends this cabin class across a new aircraft family. Premium economy becomes a yield management tool in a mid-capacity widebody, capturing revenue from passengers willing to pay more than economy but not ready for business class. Airbus announced that Emirates would be the first airline in the Middle East to introduce Airbus's HBC Plus satellite connectivity solution on the A350-900. Connectivity, not just fuel burn, not just range, the ability to keep passengers connected throughout their journey. This signals that Emirates isn't evaluating the A350 purely on traditional metrics. They're treating it as a platform for next-generation passenger experience, the aircraft that will set the standard for what premium long-haul travel looks like in the late 2020s and beyond. Emirates isn't hiding the A350, they're showcasing it. To understand how aggressively Emirates deployed these aircraft, we need to examine their route expansion. The operational deployment was equally revealing. Within months of service entry, Emirates had placed A350s on routes spanning multiple continents: Edinburgh, Bahrain, Kuwait, Lyon, Bologna. The network expanded rapidly. By the end of 2025, Emirates announced Montreal as an A350 destination, marking the type's first service to the Americas in early 2026. This wasn't an aircraft being tested on short regional routes. Emirates immediately deployed the A350 on intercontinental missions, demonstrating confidence in the type for their core long-haul network. Perhaps most significantly, Emirates began operating A350-900 variants on ultra-long-haul routes. In December 2025, an A350-900 replaced a Boeing 777-200LR on the Adelaide-Dubai service. The configuration was different for their standard A350, 298 seats across 3 classes instead of 312, optimized for the extreme range requirements of connecting Australia to the Gulf. This deployment reveals Emirates' true intentions. They're using the A350 not merely to supplement capacity, they're modernizing routes previously serviced by their most capable long-range aircraft. The 777-200LR was Emirates' ultra-long-haul specialist, an aircraft specifically designed to connect distant city pairs that other jets couldn't reach non-stop. Now, the A350-900 is taking over those missions, with better fuel efficiency, with newer cabin products, with the operational flexibility that Boeing's delays had denied them. 16 aircraft, 18 cities, within a single year of service entry. This wasn't cautious experimentation. This was full commitment. Emirates didn't ease into the A350, they went all in. To understand why this matters beyond Emirates, we need to examine the ripple effects across the industry. When the world's largest international airline commits to 65 aircraft of a particular type and deploys them with maximum visibility, the entire industry takes notice. This isn't a quiet fleet addition, this is a strategic endorsement. Lessors recalculate residual value assumptions. Finance teams at competing airlines face uncomfortable questions from their boards. The A350's market position strengthens simply because Emirates chose it. Consider the timing. Airlines worldwide are scrambling for wide-body capacity. Boeing's production constraints have created a global aircraft shortage. Carriers that ordered 777X years ago are facing multi-year delays with no certainty. Production problems at Boeing have cascaded through the entire industry. Meanwhile, Airbus is delivering A350s, and Emirates is demonstrating operational success with the type across an expanding network. For fleet planners at other airlines watching this unfold, the calculus becomes impossible to ignore. Emirates, the airline that built its brand around the world's largest A380 fleet, has now validated the A350 as a core long-haul platform. If Emirates can integrate the A350 into their operation, so can anyone. The Emirates effect extends to the group level as well. In November 2023, flydubai announced an order for 30 Boeing 787-9 Dreamliners. Deliveries begin in 2026. This is flydubai's first wide-body order. The low-cost carrier that had built its fleet entirely around Boeing 737s was now entering the wide-body market. Combined with Emirates A380, A350, and 777 fleets, the Dubai aviation ecosystem now operates 4 distinct wide-body families. A380s for ultra-high-density trunk routes, where slot constraints favor maximum seats per departure, A350s for long-haul efficiency with premium cabin flexibility, 777s for proven workhorse reliability across the core network, 787s for thinner, long-haul markets that need wide-body comfort but can't support wide-body capacity. Through their partnership network, which connected 3.7 million passengers across 222 destinations in 2023, Emirates and flydubai can feed traffic between these capacity layers. A passenger might fly flydubai 787 from a secondary city, connect to Dubai, and board an Emirates A380 or A350 for the long-haul segment. The strategic flexibility this provides is unprecedented. Emirates' decision doesn't exist in isolation, it reshapes how the entire industry thinks about fleet strategy. Emirates needed an alternative because Boeing left them stranded with 777X delays. They chose the A350-900 specifically because it complements rather than competes with their existing fleet. The aircraft fits their network perfectly by filling the capacity gap between the A380 and smaller widebodies. They treated it as a product launch because it carries their latest cabin innovations. They deployed it aggressively across intercontinental routes within months, and the industry noticed. Because when Emirates validates an aircraft type, everyone pays attention. Each piece was essential. Remove any one and the picture is incomplete. What makes Emirates A350 adoption truly impossible to ignore is what it signals about the future of long-haul aviation. The age of the mega-widebody as the only answer to long-haul demand is ending. Even the airline most committed to aircraft size as a competitive advantage has acknowledged that mid-sized, efficient widebodies deserve a central role in network strategy. Boeing's 777X, whenever it finally arrives, will still be an exceptional aircraft for specific missions. The capacity and range capabilities remain compelling for the right routes, but the multi-year delay, it's accelerated a market evolution that was already underway. Airlines can no longer build strategies around single aircraft families with uncertain delivery timelines. The risk is too great, the operational constraints too severe. Fleet flexibility isn't just desirable, it's essential. Emirates spent decades proving that bigger was better. Their A380 fleet remains the largest in the world. Their commitment to premium products and massive scale built one of aviation's most recognized brands. Now, they're proving something far more valuable. The best fleet strategy isn't about any single aircraft type, it's about having the right aircraft for every mission. And with 65 A350s entering service, Emirates just made that truth impossible for anyone to ignore. Hey, before you go, the YouTube algorithm thinks you're going to like this video next, so why not check it out?